Cruelty is often portrayed in loud, glaring ways: physical violence, verbal abuse, and deliberate malice. But there is another, more insidious form of cruelty, a silent killer that goes unnoticed by many. It's the cruelty of indifference, of words unsaid, of neglect and rejection, of the small, repeated moments of emotional harm that wear away at the fabric of one's spirit. These silent cruelties, often overlooked, are the ones that can slowly, gradually destroy a person. Silent cruelty also has a long-lasting impact on our relationships. It builds walls between people. When cruelty isn't addressed, it festers beneath the surface, creating resentment and bitterness. It leads to isolation. People who experience this kind of emotional harm begin to doubt whether they can trust others, whether they are truly seen or understood. It builds distance, emotional, psychological, and sometimes even physical. As these walls go up, the bond between individuals weakens and the soul becomes more and more disconnected. So why does cruelty take such a toll on the soul? It's because at the core of every human being, there's a need to feel loved, accepted, and valued. When this need is repeatedly neglected or trampled upon, the soul begins to shrivel. Our emotional well-being is fragile, like a delicate plant that requires care, nourishment, and respect to thrive. When cruelty enters the picture, it's as though the plant is deprived of sunlight or water. Over time, it wilts, and if the cruelty continues, it can eventually wither complete. The danger of silent cruelty is that it can be hard to detect, even for the person experiencing it. It doesn't always leave bruises or cuts that can be seen by others. It's the kind of pain that stays hidden beneath the surface. A sharp comment here, a harsh look there, the constant feeling of being overlooked. These small but powerful experiences accumulate over time. They affect how someone sees themselves and their worth in the world. The healing process doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to confront the ways we've been hurt. It also requires forgiveness, both for ourselves and for others. Only then can we begin to rebuild what cruelty has broken. By choosing love over indifference, by choosing understanding over judgment, we can slowly rebuild our sense of self-worth and begin to restore the emotional wounds that cruelty has inflicted. The silent killer of cruelty is most dangerous because it operates on a subconscious level. It whispers in the back of our minds, feeding doubts, insecurities, and fears. We may not even realize that we're being harmed, and worse, we may not realize that we're harming others. We've normalized the small cruelties, the things we say without thinking, the judgments we make in haste, the ways we fail to show compassion when it's needed most. But these small acts of cruelty accumulate, creating a slow burn of suffering that affects not just the person on the receiving end, but society as a whole. This form of cruelty isn't just something others do to us. We can also be guilty of inflicting it on ourselves. How many times have we been our own harshest critics? How many times have we told ourselves we're not good enough or worthy of love and care? This self-inflicted cruelty is just as damaging, if not more so, because it becomes internalized. When we let these negative beliefs about ourselves go unchecked, they begin to chip away at our sense of. To heal from cruelty, we must first acknowledge it. We must become aware of the ways in which we allow cruelty, whether from others or from ourselves, to persist in our lives. This awareness is the first step in breaking the cycle. By recognizing the silent ways in which cruelty infiltrates our daily lives, we can begin to make changes. We can choose kindness. We can choose empathy. We can choose to be mindful of our words and actions and to treat ourselves with the same care and compassion that we would offer a loved one. What is it about cruelty that makes it so deadly? Unlike other forms of harm that leave visible scars, silent cruelty eats away at the core of a person's self-worth and mental well-being. It's the toxic words, the stinging silence, the feeling of being invisible, unimportant, or unloved. These aren't just fleeting emotions, they create deep, lasting wounds that erode confidence, distort self-perception, and leave lasting marks that may never fully heal. What is it about cruelty that makes it so deadly? Unlike other forms of harm that leave visible scars, silent cruelty eats away at the core of a person's self-worth and mental well-being. It's the toxic words, the stinging silence, the feeling of being invisible, unimportant, or unloved. These aren't just fleeting emotions, they create deep, lasting wounds that erode confidence, distort self-perception, and leave lasting marks that may never fully heal.